Greetings, Watford fans everywhere. I hope you are well. It is time for the 10-minute take. I'm Omar Moore. And this is the 10-minute take for Watford 1, Newcastle United 1 in the Premier League at the Vic, as Watford played very poorly in the first half of the game and woke up in the second half with a couple of really good chances to score early on, and then really, I think, had a much more better look and grasp of the game in the second half than they did the first. I wouldn't say they dominated the second half. I would say that they looked much more lively in the second half and seemed to have a game plan in the second half. Unfortunately, what happened for me with Watford in the second half, and I'll get to this a bit more in a few moments, is that they did not sustain the kind of energy and commitment to getting the goal that would win the game until it was a little bit too late in the game. I'll get to that in a few moments and I'll explain that. But the first half was forgettable from Watford. After the first 90 seconds of the game, where they could have scored, Watford really didn't have another look in until the Saw shot toward the end of that first half that went just past the post. And it was Newcastle who came in with a game plan, which was to stifle Watford, to frustrate them, to get physical with them, and to get physical with Ismail Assar. That was their game plan from the off. It was to disrupt Watford. It was to absolutely be physical with Watford and to make sure that life was uncomfortable and as uncomfortable as it could possibly be for Ismail Assar. And they succeeded with that game plan. They absolutely did. They controlled the tempo of the game in the first half. Watford did not establish tempo, did not establish fluidity at all, did not establish a cohesion in that first half at all. They did not pick up the tempo. They allowed Newcastle to absolutely boss the game in the first half. And for me, that's about mentality again. They had large periods in that first half where they retreated from the task. And that word retreat is a big word that is factoring in a lot of these Watford performances. I'm noticing that more and more. Either when they are at 0-0 or when they have the lead, they have this tendency to go back into their shell and invite teams on. I saw this last week. I talked about this last week with you with the game against Norwich when Watford got in front in the first half. They sat back and invited Norwich on. And it's a bad habit that's happened with this team now this season. I've seen it more and more. The Tottenham game as well had a really good, bright first 5 minutes of the game. Then we kind of shrunk, sat back a little bit, invited Tottenham on. Tottenham got the set piece goal. I know it was a mistake in the end from Backman, but the point is that the team's mentality off the ball still has to improve. And you saw that again in this game today. We sat back after the first minute and a half, and Newcastle took the initiative. We invited Newcastle to take the initiative on. And when you're playing teams like Newcastle, you've got to be rude hosts. When you're playing a team like Newcastle at the Vic, you got to be rude. You got to be nasty. You got to show no respect. You got to be ruthless with them. And Watford did not have any of that in the first half of this game. And had it been a better team, Watford could have been buried in this game. The funeral could have happened at halftime because Newcastle, for the like of me, I have no idea why they're not 3-0 up there. I mean, Sean Longstaff should have had a hat trick in the first half, and Ben Foster should have saved that great strike that Longstaff had. It was a great strike. Can't complain about that. You tip your hat to Longstaff for the strike, but Ben Foster, you got to save that. I mean, there's no way around it. You've got to put your hands to that. And it's the second week in a row where Ben Foster really, I think, could have and should have done better with an opposition strike. Both of those strikes in both of those games, Tamo Pukki last week at Norwich, and this one from Longstaff against Newcastle today at the Vic, I think they're both good strikes, but I think that Ben Foster should have done better in both of those. So if people are gonna say something about Foster, that's where you can say it about him there. But Ben Foster really saved you in that second half, and that's what you get. You get sometimes an error from Ben, but Ben gives you everything he can. And look at what he did in that second half. It was superb. He was superb in the second half. Made three excellent saves, two in a row. One parried, one that he put his knees out or his legs out, whatever. I forget which one. And the ball struck him in the knees or the legs and bounced away, and it was cleared. Foster made some big saves there, and the one-on-one with Murphy. Oh, dear, oh dear. Again, Newcastle should have won this game. I think Newcastle should have won the game. I really honestly do. We were very fortunate to get this point today. If a better team were in front of us, we would have finished without a point. I'm not complaining. I'm very thankful that we got a point today. I'm very thankful, but I honestly believe that we were fortunate. I really do think so. And the reason why is because even after we got the equalizing goal in the 72nd minute from Ismail Assar off of a set piece, that's our first set piece goal of the season. It was either from a corner or a free kick, as I remember it. And Saw heads it in. I could see that that was going in before it went in, and I could see that he was going to be there for it. And sometimes you can see goals before they happen. There's a good cross, good ball in. Saw was ready. You could already see him shaping up to head that, and he heads it right into the corner past the goalkeeper Carl Darlow, 1-1. And for the energy and effort of that second half, Watford did deserve to get that goal and make it a 1-1 game. Here's my issue. Watford from there did not press on enough and kick on the way they should have to take that game on and by the scruff of its neck. They didn't do that enough, not the way they did against Norwich. When they scored their second goal against Norwich, they kept going for it. Today, when they scored their first goal against Newcastle, they didn't. They kind of retreated a little bit there. And Newcastle had a couple of chances. And instead of pushing forward, and they did play better. I'm not saying they didn't. Watford played a lot better in that second half. You couldn't play worse than that in the first half. But after they scored the goal in the 72nd minute, Watford did not firmly press their momentum. They did not press the advantage. They did not use the crowd, in my view, to bury Newcastle, which they should have done. They didn't do it. And that, I lament that. There's a 10-minute to 15-minute period after Sarr's goal where Watford kind of retreated a bit. And again, this goes back to what I said earlier about the times that we have scored goals and then sat back and invited teams on. That to me is not a very good strategy if you want to win games in the Premier League. And we got a point today, which is very good. I'm glad that we did. But that's not a strategy that's going to get us victories. We sit back when we have just scored. And I get it. You're very vulnerable when you score your goal, that you are at your most vulnerable. But my issue is that Watford did not press the momentum, especially at home. They didn't press the momentum that they had enough. There's that 10-minute period after the 72nd minute where that goal goes in, and Watford don't quite do enough, in my view, to keep pushing. When they started to was around the 84th, 85th minute of the game. So there's a 10 to 15 minute period of time, 10 minutes, 13 minutes, where they didn't sustain the pressure on that Newcastle goal. If you remember the first half of this game, Newcastle kept coming, kept coming, kept coming, corner after corner after corner after corner. Then they kept pressing and pressing and pressing, and they got their goal from Longstaff, right? Kept pressing, and they sustained that for the entire first half. We didn't when we scored our goal. We didn't sustain it. We didn't sustain it. And there was that 10 to 15 minute moment after that 72nd minute where Watford did not press what they had, press the advantage. And then they started to go for it around the 84th, 85th minute or so. And then they went at it full hammer and tongs. Josh King scores, goals ruled out for offside. Really unfortunate. Josh King is going to get his goal. I predicted that he was going to score today. Well, he scored, but the goal was disallowed for offside. So, there you go. Josh King still without a goal for Watford. It will come. It will come for him. I'm very confident. Josh King has worked very hard. I really do like him in that central role. He's imaginative. He's running into space. He's always looking busy. He's creating space for his team. He's got good assists. He's got 2 assists in the last game. I think he's played very well for Watford. He's very unfortunate. The goals will come. He's done his work rate is tremendous. I really like how he looks and the dimension he gives the club, he gives the side on the pitch. I really do enjoy looking at his play because he's a really good runner. He's somebody who's given you complete effort. He's got pace. He's got a lot of energy. He's very lively. He has a really good sense of where people are. He's got a sense of where things are going. He's good without the ball. He's good with the ball. He's very much direct. Josh King today again, a very good performance for me. I think Danny Rose was very good today. He always tries to move forward with the ball. When he's out of possession, he tries to get into spaces to stop plays and disrupt, and then not just disrupt, but then move the ball forward. He is a very positive player and a positive left back. And yes, he made a couple of challenges there. You kind of wondered if there were going to be cards, and I thought this referee, who I think started decently, had a poor game overall. The referee from I think from Australia or New Zealand had a poor game for me in much of that second half and parts of the first. I thought he had a good start to the game, but I think he just did not referee this game with the kind of acumen that referees have got to have. So we'll see what his next refereeing assignment's going to be. But the bottom line is that for me, Josh King did well today. I like Danny Rose today. Really like the personality that Danny Rose brings. Watford had a personality in that second half. A lot of it was down to Danny Rose. A lot of it was down to people like Danny Rose who really did everything. He wasn't content with just breaking up play. He then found the outlet ball, which is that's what we're looking for. We want players to move the ball forward, and Watford didn't do that enough in the first half. Do it at all. Watford didn't move the ball quickly enough. They were much better in the second half of that. Tom Cleverley was subbed at halftime, the concussion substitution. Tufan came in. He gave you a little something, but still, he's still going to need some time. He's not quick enough for this game yet. You can't expect him to be. Premier League football has a way of knocking you in the face. And Tufan, although I think he had glimpses today, it's going to take him at least 3 or 4, maybe even 5 more games to really come to grips with the pace and the speed and the energy required for the Premier League. I mean, it's going to take some time. So I know a lot of people were looking at him to start this game, but you can see why he didn't. But I think he had a decent game in patches. But again, it's going to take him some time to get up to speed with the Premier League. And the only way to do it is to just put him in these games, whether he's coming off the bench or not. At this minute, I think he should come off the bench, and he's going to get more game time, and that will prepare you, and then he will, I think, be a lot better dealing with the pace and the demands of the game. Now, look, as for everybody else, I think Kushka had a good game. I think it was a wise thing to take him off because he came awfully close to getting a second yellow card, and I think that Cisco was right to take him off there. He brought in, I think, Atebo late on in the game, and brought in João Pedro. João Pedro, to me, it was an outing to get his feet wet. He did not do much of anything, and I'm not completely surprised by that. I was hoping that he would have a bit more of an influence in a game like this, because I think a game like this that's in the balance, even when we were trailing 1-0 in the second half, the game was still very much there to be won. And I think the sub of João Pedro was not a bad one. It just did not work out for him today. And João Pedro will be better in other games this season. Look, he's just come off of 2 months in knee injury, whatever. It certainly wasn't knee injury in training in July. So look, I don't expect him to light the world on fire instantly. It will come. Again, it's going to take a bit of time, but it was good to see him today. If nothing else, I want him to impose himself a bit more on the game. And that's, again, my main complaint today. We did not impose ourselves enough on this game. The first half is obvious. We didn't do anything. Second half, when we scored the goal, we did not impose our mentality on the game. We didn't impose our stamp on the game. And that's what was needed. And we didn't do that right away after that goal was scored. And even though it's true, as I've said before, you're most vulnerable after you score your goal, you've got to go forward at home. You've got to go forward and press your advantage. You've just scored. You've got them on their heels. You've got to keep rocking them off their heels. And the way that Newcastle kept coming at us in the first half and bossing us about, we didn't do enough of that in the second half of the game. And we didn't do enough of that when Saw had scored to equalize for us. And what we had was a 10-minute period where that game could have gone either way. Pendulum was swinging back and forth, and we didn't seize the pendulum, stop it, and grip it and take it forward. And we didn't do that for those 10 minutes after that goal. And we only started doing it around the 84th, 85th minute. And then we were bang on it. We gave it full hammer and tongs and almost got the win. There were a few other moments where we were excellent there from the 85th minute on, and we really should have got the winner. But again, Newcastle, how again, even in that moment, how Newcastle did not wrap this up late is just beyond me. One on one, Jacob Murphy, he's got to score. I mean, Foster makes a great save from him. I mean, he did. I mean, because I think Foster even thought probably that that was going in past him, and Jacob Murphy just didn't finish. You know, if that's Salah, if that's Kai Havertz, if that's, I mean, you name the finisher, Ronaldo, for goodness sakes, that's game, set, and match. And so we are fortunate. I know some fellow Watford fans think that that's not really, and they may not agree with that assessment. That's, you know, I mean, I understand some fans of the club may disagree there, but I think we are fortunate. I think we are quite fortunate to have got a point. I'm thankful for the point. I'm happy for the point. I think we've got to take a point like this. It's a lesson for us about how we have to deal with off the ball shape, off the ball mentality. What are we going to do when we don't have possession, right? When we score, or even if we don't score, but especially when we do, and the ball is with the opposition, what is our collective mentality about that? Are we going to attack the ball? Are we going to have a shape that is built to deal with balls coming in? Are we going to be able to attack the space? Are we going to be keeping a little bit tighter to these attackers on the opposition? Or are we going to just collectively sit back, invite them on as a team, and hope that someone is going to make a last ditch tackle? And I don't like option number three there, that last option that I just threw at you. I don't like that one because that is trouble for us. And we've invited Newcastle on too much today. And even in the moments in the second half, we were still inviting them on, even after we'd scored the equalizer. And St. Maximin, a tricky customer, give Newcastle credit today. They did not fold. And even after they weathered the storm from us, they kept coming at us. And, you know, there were moments there where if it's not for Ben Foster, we're talking a game with a loss here. We're talking with so that's why I'm saying that we're fortunate today. I would even go so far as say very fortunate today that we got a point because again, Newcastle just couldn't finish. And Newcastle could, even after we got the equalizer, Newcastle still could not finish. I mean, that Jacob Murphy chance, that's just incredible. I'm telling you, the Premier League, I mean, you've got to finish those. So Newcastle probably come away from this game feeling very unlucky and hard done by that they did not win this game. Watford come away from this, I think, thankful and grateful and fortunate. I think all three. I feel thankful, grateful, and fortunate that we got a point here. And at the end of the day, that's all you can ask for in the Premier League, considering how poorly we played. I think we were fortunate today. Now, granted, second half we played well. I wouldn't say that we bossed the game. I would say that we had a better idea of what we wanted to do in the game in that second half, and we showed it for much of the second half. But again, as I say, Newcastle still had opportunities in that second half to put us away. So for me, disjointed today from us. I thought that second half we were deserving of the goal. I thought from that minute on when Saw scored, we did play very well, but we just didn't sustain the level right after he scored. That 10 minutes between the time he scored and then the 85th or 86th minute, 13, 14 minutes or so, you know, that's where we should have gone for it some more, you know? but again, that's how games go sometimes. But look, I think the lads did what they could. I liked the performance, much of it from the second half. I think from the 85th minute on, we really were gangbusters here. Unfortunately, Josh King could not get that goal. It will come though. He's getting closer and closer to it. I really think that he will score very soon. I really think so. And next week, well, we've got Leeds next week, but I'll be now analyzing that coming up in the next few days. And that's my take on this one. Watford won, Newcastle won. We get a point, and thankful for the point for sure. We'll take it. Good goal from Saar. I think Danny Rose, very good. Sissoko, I think, had a very good game as well. Kuchka had a decent game as well. And, again, Josh King is just really I really like Josh King. And Ben Foster also redeemed himself in that second half with some really good saves. So there you go. I think an improved performance, an improved, much better second half. A game that probably ended up where it should have, given everything. Newcastle will be much more the more disappointed team. But again, thankfully for us, we get a point here and we cannot complain about that. Final score again from this one is Watford 1, Newcastle United 1.